Yo guys, what's going on? LuckyRave is back again to give you guys my live stream discussion slash review on Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest, episode 12. And for those of you wondering about the echo that you're probably hearing, got a new setup, finally. It's been a long time coming. Let me just say that it's been a long time coming, and the sound that you're hearing right now is only going to be temporary, at least just for this particular episode, maybe even the next episode. But needless to say, finally got my own setup with like a desk and everything, which I've been waiting so long for this. And yeah, so that means predominantly it should be more easier now for me to actually, sit here and talk about, stuff I want to talk about and just deliver stuff more frequently because I know it's kind of been a bit of a slump since I started working again. But with this now, should make things a lot more easier. Should. But with that being said, you guys, episode 12, I I still cannot believe we are this far into 100 Years Quest. Like, I'm just like, wow. Because it only seems like yesterday that the anime had just started, and it's already been like 12 weeks, which, wow, I'm still kind of shocked by that. But, even with that said, well, let's just go ahead and just dive right into the episode because like, almost 2 minutes in, and I'm not even talking about the actual content. But I will say, as far as what we cover from the manga, we cover up until chapter 42. So in terms of volume, that's like the midway point of volume 5. That's where we're currently at with the anime for 100 Years Quest. We're like halfway through volume 5. I think there are like maybe 3 or 4 chapters left. I think I could be wrong about that. Actually, let me look that up right now. Yeah, it's close. I'll say that we're really close to wrapping up this current volume of 100 Years Quest. But let me just go and dive right into it. So, chapter 39, the first chapter, is called Kukuku the Cuckoo Dragon. And that should be pretty self explanatory because like this episode starts off and it's Wendy still like wrapped up in a cocoon thanks to Nibura, and he's like, "This one move, even though spun, spun, spun." Carla's going like, "Wendy, you what dragon?" And Wendy's like, "I'm a sky dragon," and he's like, "No, you're a cocoon dragon." She's like, "No," and he's like, "I'm not cuckoo. My name is Wendy," and he still decides to go once more with like the webs and everything. It's okay, one more time, spin, spin. And Wendy just says, "I think I haven't learned your. You think I haven't learned your tricks yet?" And he's like, "Cuckoo, roll away." And Carla's just like, of all the things for this guy to say, where we're going with this. And Wendy, lays out her famous Sky Dragon Roar's claw attack, which is really amazing, and really defeating him. And well, I'd say more so defeating him up until like when he tries to get back on his feet, because Wendy's just like, "Victory, yeah, I did it." But no, that's not the case. In fact, the neighbor is like, "Coo fun," so won't eat, not now. And you see him like holding onto the orb, and that catches Wendy's attention. And she's like, "Oh no!" Carla's like, "The orb, spin, spin," and it's like broken. And they're like, "Oh shoot!" Like that's where they're at. They're like at the point where like, okay, one of the orbs is broken. You see a bit of like rumblings going on throughout the city, and the citizens are like, "You feel that?" And you see the white mage walking around saying, "The second orb has been destroyed. That means 3 left. 3 more delicate little spears before the wood dragon god Alderon loses his powers." Cut over to the rumblings going on in one of the churches where you have Loxus and Kyria, and Kyria's like, what is this shaking?" And Loxus says, "An orb's been shattered. That means 3 more to go. And one of them is in here with us." Huh? Well, which Kyria goes on to say, what did a lot of you hope to achieve by weakening Alderaan? You're going to white him out in order to, or this is what Locke says. We're going to white him out in order to fight the rest of the five dragon gods. The white mage means to take the power of the wood dragon god. And Kira's like, and we wish to weaken Alderaan in order to eat him. We may have different goals in mind, but at the very least, we both want to destroy those orbs. And Lox is like, yeah, looks like it. Then what are we fighting for? With the orb sitting right over here. And Lox says the woman who attacked me. She's like, yes, so did I. Or so I did. I couldn't help it. You just you just looked so tasty. And I mean, okay, if there's one thing I have to say, there is definitely a rise in the Lox's curious shippers, okay? This happened in the manga. Was this part right here. Happened in the manga, and it's happening again with the anime. And I'll say this, my 2 cents on like Loxus, like in his like ships and whatnot. Big one is obviously Loxus and Mirror. That's been like the one ship a lot of people in the fairy tale community think, okay, those two work well together. But then you threw Kyria into the mix with 100 Years Quest, and suddenly tunes start shifting. And I'll say this: there is one moment between the two of them. I don't want to say it's anything like deep or meaningful, nothing like that. But it's kind of like a nice gesture, if you will. That's not going to happen until like probably season 3, or actually, it depends because depending on where season 1 ends off for the anime, that could even happen during season 2. It really all depends. It really does. But this definitely raised an expectation of sorts. Like, okay, so now we have a new ship on the rise, and that is Loxus and Kyria. What would the ship name be? Let me think here. So we have Nalu, obviously. We got Jerza. We got Groovia. I mean, I want to say Locky. I think Locky would be the ship name, right? It would be Locky or like her. One of the two. There probably is a ship name of these two, and I'm not even 100% certain what it would actually be called. But this whole exchange, I think, just says a lot. But Curious says the perfect appetizer. Cut back over to what's going on like outside the palace with Urza, and Urza's like Loxus and Kira are distracted by their fight, and Urza thinks this is my chance to make off with the orb, but Urza's like stuck to a tree, like pinned in everything, and then she's like, I can't believe I'm stuck like this. And then you see Jalal, and you see just how it's a mixture of feeling unease. Definitely, it's a feeling of unease, but also just feeling kind of flustered too, because again, someone needs to fix Jalal. Look, I love Jalal as a character, but we all know this is not him. This may like be how he feels like deep down inside, and it's like now just like spewing out because of the white mage's control. But Jalal is a lot more cool, calm, collected, and level-headed. And this right here is like, dang, okay, we are really we are really pushing the Jerza agenda, which I have nothing against that. And like I said, this is pretty funny. But at the same time, I'm like, fix Jalal, come on. Anyway, Jalal says, I'm going to dye you white now, Urza. And she's like, personal space. He's like, there's nothing to be afraid of. And she's like, stop, get away. Just entrust yourself to me, body and soul. And then Urza just says, Jalal, undo these bonds. They bring back bad memories. And you obviously have Jalal thinking about that, thinking about what happened back then during, the Tower of Heaven, both like in terms of their childhood and in terms of like how he treated Urza during that arc. And she says, I want to reach out to your shoulders with my hands. I want my fingers to crush your cheek. And Jalal says, Urza, and then he undoes the binding. And he says, I'm sorry about that. It won't happen again. And then Urza starts taking like the wrapping that's like around like, her body. And Jalal gets thrown off. It's like, what are you doing? And she's like, now it's your turn to be tied up. And okay, up until this point, like even though I was like, someone fix Jalal. Now this is like the big one for me where I'm just like, okay, somebody please, please, for the heavens, save him because he's enjoying the kinky vibe. Because he's like, that's cool, Urza. I can handle whatever your kink is. Come on, let's get started. I'm ready for you. And again, Urza feeling super flustered by this. She's like, that's not what's going on here. And then she just, goes back into her armor. And she goes, you can just stay right there. And he's like, I get it. Keeping me in suspense. I have to get to that church. Then we cut over to what's going on with Natsu and Wraith, who's now taking over Makorav. And Natsu's like, come to think of it, I've never been in a serious fight with Grams. And Wraith's like, best you not think of this old man as one you know. For his power and mine are now joined to create an invincible strength. And you see what he does to Natsu, just beating him off into a corner. Man, that hurt. I thought I was supposed to pass through walls, not smash right through them. Huh? Hey, how come you can hit me even though I'm a spirit? I couldn't hit you with my physical body. That's not fair. And Wraith says, you simply don't measure up to me. I am a true ghost, whereas you are strictly speaking through a thought projection. The possibility of physical condition depends on my subjective judgment. I'm not going to pretend to understand that. All I know is you're playing dirty. And not as such. You have the same ability to make the same suggestive distinction subconsciously. Fundamentally, spirit forms are incapable of interacting with physical objects. Yet, you can hit that cat I possess. And if you'd wished, you could hit this old man as well. And Natsu then goes on to say, geez, sometimes it seems great to be a ghost, and sometimes it feels like a royal pain. And then Wraith says, I must wonder, though, who is this old man? I never experienced such a synchro rate like this. The geezer's the master of our guild. And Wraith says, a guild master? That would explain the profound magical powers, and the obvious length of his life suggests he's had more than enough time for at least one close encounter with death. But that alone still doesn't explain this incredible synchronicity. And then he says, is it possible he fulfills the third condition as well? Is he a blood relative? Could this elderly man somehow be my family? Now, here's the thing. That's the end of chapter 39, by the way. But I'm going on to mention this because at the time when this chapter came, okay, chapter 39, which is covered in episode 12, there was a huge discussion point for like a couple weeks as to whether or not Wraith was actually the, like blood relative of Makorav. Like that was like a talking point a lot of people had to say, yo, like, well, we know about, Ivan, but who's to say that there might have been something else, like someone else, Like, it's entirely possible. And then we sort of get the explanation here in the next following chapter, which is 40, right? And it's called Thicker Than Blood. So you have Ray's just thinking back, he's like, this old man in mine, are we somehow related? Now it's says, first he possesses Happy, now Grams. And then he's just thinking, like, I have no memories of my past life. I can only hope that finding the one who killed me and passing judgment on them might be enough to bring my memories back. And Natsu goes on to say, my friends aren't just your dang toys, And Wraith continues to contemplate. He's like, Were there any that I can call friend? No later. For right now, and he continues to go on with the assault here. Such incredible power. These old bones surge with magical energy. Yes, Gramps is strong, all right, as what Natsu says. And he continues to go on to say, but I know something you don't. Even the real Gramps is even more powerful than this. And you see what happens. Natsu says, I'm sorry, Gramps, but I'm gonna have to get serious here. And he uses the Fire Dragon King's Demolition Strike, which is, first of all, seeing that in the manga was one thing, but getting that in the anime, woo, dude, getting that in the anime, like, took it to another level. And that was incredible. Impossible. He possesses the power to best even this magic? The magic is willing, but the flesh is weak. Too weak. And then he thinks, and then, we get a flashback to like a young Makorav. And he's like, quit talking like some old geezer. What's going on? I ain't got the stomach for another fight. You're a weak as shrimp. No, wait. You're a weak shrimp anyway. Keep it to yourself, Goldmine. Are these old man's memories of his youth? And pretty much who we're getting Yajima, who is now like the restaurant owner, right? Thinking I'll put this guild behind me. Go get on the council or something. And then of course we have Goldmine, who is now the Quattro Cerberus guild master. And he says, and become our mortal enemy. Then you also got the Bob, who is now the Blue Pegasus guild master. It's honestly, when I see Bob, when I look at how he is like back then versus how he is now, like it is a radical departure when we're talking about like character appearances. Like when you see how he looks here versus how he looks like now, it's like, dang, like what transitioned you into being from this to that? But not that I want to really know, but it's just interesting. It doesn't have to be a manga thing. That could be a story that's saved for like a light novel. But he says, I admit, freedom holds a certain attraction. And then you have Rob saying, give me a break. And then you, of course, see Makarov. Bob, you mean you'd abandon Fairy Tail and these have poor Yusuke? And I've always noticed how interesting this is. Poor Yusuke and Makarov are like always like paired together, right? Like even now, anytime Makarov goes through some shit, she always shows up. Always. Why not let him go? We have too many people anyway. And at this point, Makarov is now the Guildmaster, the Fairy Tail. And we know that Prek left on a bit of a journey, right? And because of that journey, Makarov, like, was given the reins of being the Guildmaster. But what I find about this whole exchange between poor Yusuke and Makarov is that they have like this like married couple vibe approach. And he's like, and then you have like Goldmine and Yajima just like conversing with one another, just thinking like, another little spout for our favorite man and child. They're the cutest couple. And Makarov's like, we're not married. And she's like, who would ever marry a human man like him? Which, honestly speaking, I do wonder, who did Makarov end up with? Like, that is my curious question. Who did he end up with? Because Ivan had to be born some way, right? Like, it just now clicked to me. I'm like thinking, hold on. Who did end up with them? And the only person that makes sense to me right now is poor Yusuke. Just given their dynamic, I'm just thinking, no, that makes sense. It would be those two. But I don't know. Hero, you need to answer that question. Who did Makarov end up with? Okay, that's my thing. Who did he end up with? That's just curious question, But anyway, and he's like, "Oh, you're blushing. Hurry up and get married, then. Laugh it up, jerkwads. This is why I hate humans." I mean, okay. Here's the thing: if Hiro Mashima, when it comes to like shipping, or not ship, parents. He makes it pretty clear as to like who the couples are, right? Like Rave Master made this super obvious too. Like Haru and Ellie, end all be all, okay? Shuda and Catalia, even though that one was like a huge surprise, those two got together. Um, and then you had Nagisa and Musica. Those two are an item too. That's also the case. And then with the case of Fairy Tale, you obviously have, you know, Natsu and Lucy, even though they haven't gotten together yet, you can obviously tell that's the ship Hero's going for. And in the case of other pairings, you have, you know, Gajil and Levy. That's one. Gray and Julius, another example. And then Hunt, and of course, I already mentioned this one, but you have Urza and Jalal. Those two are a pair also. And then we can't forget about Mavis and Zeref. Those are the other. That's the other pairing too, and that was brought up last episode actually. So if we're going with the approach here to say, okay, poorly Yusuke and Makorav, you know, they did hit it off at one point, and poorly Yusuke is actually, you know, the mother of Ivan. But in that, and it's actually kind of funny when you look at it from that perspective, because that would also mean that she is Lox's grandmother. But obviously, what we're seeing here is just a tease between like the two, like a tease between the guildmates. That's really all it is. And I mean, like I said, this isn't flat out confirming anything. But I'm just saying, if you know Hero's like writing style and storytelling, especially with parents, it makes it obvious. Hell, even with Eden Zero, you had Shiki and Rebecca, super apparent, super obvious, and then you had a similar case with Hermit and Weiss. That's another one too. And then you had one more. Oh, you had Justice and Elsie. Those were the other two also. And that's also really telling as well. And then, of course, you had Witch and Leonard. Another one, too. So, that's what I'm saying. Hero makes it abundantly clear like which characters are going to end up together. He makes it very apparent in like his style of storytelling. So, I'm not gonna say this flat out confirms that okay, Makarov and poor Yusuke like are indeed an item, but you could very much like infer that okay, these two probably did get together at one point. He's not outright saying it, but based on the conversation, the way they're teasing them, obviously there's something that might have happened. Might have, you know. Anyway, you see what happens. You have like the emergency staff coming in. Make way, emergency coming through. And it's actually funny that I brought up Practice because he's actually here. He's actually just like hanging out here. What's going on? Casualty. Bunch of monsters got him good while we were out on a job. Poor Lyusuke, you gotta help him. I'm begging you. And you're seeing poor Lyusuke doing with what he's doing with what she's doing. You've got Yajima and Goldmine also there too. They're like, yikes, looks like he looks like death. Yeah, hang in there. I can't believe it. And the person we're seeing is Wraith. So Wraith at one point in time, as of this chapter, this moment, even like actually in the episode, because that's what all I'm covering, right? Is just what events occurred in the episode. So this already confirmed that Wraith, the connection that he has to Makorav is that he was a part of the guild. And that's saying so much. It's like, whoa, oh my god. He was actually there and he says, I'm beyond help, aren't I? What? And like he's seeing all this. Wraith is noticing these events. And yeah, Makorav saying, don't talk like that. We'll save you, I swear. Won't we poorly Yusuke? Poorly Yusuke is like just like super stressing out about all this. And Makarov's like, poorly Yusuke, save him, please. And then Wraith says, Makorav, why are you so worried? don't remember us being that close. And Makorav says close has nothing to do with it. We're guildmates. Yeah. So don't you die, Wraith. You know my name. Color me surprised. Of course I do. We're both members of Fairy Tale, aren't we? And then if you see like the sad look on everyone's faces, okay? All the guildmates that are there, Makorav breaking down into tears, like we're family, all of us. And he passes on. Poor Yusuke's breaking down too. Makorav saying, damn it all. And that's when Wraith realizes that, oh my god, I was a member of Fairy Tale. The bonds of a guild are thicker than blood. So that's why we synchronize so well. And you see with what happens, he gets pushed back, Makorav's on the ground, Wraith comes back out. I admit defeat, and Natsu's like, what? I remembered everything. I can't feel hostility towards you and yours anymore. Because you're all my family. And Natsu's like, hey, your buddy. Yes, I can finally go home. Thank you again for seeing me. And Makorav just goes on to say Wraith. And Wraith looks over. He's like, there's a face I have not seen in a long time. And you see Wraith smiling, saying, good to see you again too, Makorav. And it's kind of interesting because like Wraith shows up at the tail end of episode 10. And you only get him for like episode 11 and episode 12. So like even though like his appearance was like super brief, like you can still kind of feel the impact of his character. Now, would it have been better had we had seen more of him? I'd say yeah, but this also does kind of come with the case of like how heroes storytelling likes to be. So there's that too. I mean, again, it's a pro and a con. It's like, okay, there's some upsides to it and there's some downsides to it. So this isn't neither like great, but this isn't neither like bad either. It's like neutral zone. That's where I would put this. I put this in like the neutral zone category. Can you tell me what the heck just happened? And then of course Makorav still like just knocked out just after seeing that. And before anything happens, let me go ahead and keep Discord off that way. In case I get something. Yeah, whatever, I took 10 grams. Which means time to get back to my own body. Natsu, what? Like Happy's like breaking down, and that's the end of chapter 40. So now we get to chapter 41. And that is the title of this episode, which is called A Card in the Hand. And what we get here, again, Thunder Legion's all tied up. Gray's like, what do you think that shaking was? And Juvia says, it might have been one of the orbs shattering. And Gray says, meaning we don't have time to hang around, huh? What's rush? And you see Kana here. And given that it was called A Card in the Hand, obviously you can kind of put two and two together. Like, oh, so we're bringing Kana into the mix. That's interesting. But this whole sequence with Kana, both in terms of the manga and the anime, hysterical. Okay? Because Kana's like, come on. And Jude's like, Kana. And Gray says, you're under a witch's spell and you still can't stop drinking? And she's like, to be quick work compared to the Thunder God tribe. And Juvia's like, be careful, Gray. Sorry, but I'm not going to finish this one in one punch. And of course, she's still like kind of drunk. And Kana is displaying what I like to call the drunken master. That is what Kana is in right now. She is in the drunken master state. And it is amazing. Let me just say that right now. It's like, huh? Gray, you're upside down. And he's like, I'll show you upside down. And he's trying to do what he can, but Kana is just like, river of light guided by fairies, gather, shine now to break the fangs of evil. And Juvia knows exactly what she's doing. She's like, oh, she's gonna do fairy glitter. Gray's like, right here in town, have you lost it? And she says, fairy. But before she can finish it up, there's like this huge, you know, pocket of like pink cloud. It's like cotton actually, pink cotton that just like pops out of nowhere. And Gray's like, huh? Thank goodness I made it. And it is none other than, our best girl herself, Lucy Hartfilia, who's now in like her, Aries star dress. Very underrated, by the way. Very underrated dress. But she says that's Aries' special fluffy wuffy attack. It'll prevent Kana from using any magic that needs in a what do we call this? Incantation. And Juvia's like, Lucy, and Gray's just thinking fluffy wuffy. Gray, Juvia, I was just now looking for Kana. And Gray's like, well, I'm sure glad you found her. And then you've got her saying, Plu's one useful ability is his Natsu, Natsu quality nose. And he's like, Poo! And Juvia's thinking like his nose. Does she mean that drill thing? Which I should say, I'm still going through a reread of Rave Master at the moment. And that's a joke that actually comes from Rave Master. So seeing that here is pretty funny. I'm not going to lie. Pretty amusing. And Gray goes on to say, I think she means that drill thing. And of course, see that Kana's so like knocked out. Lucy says, now where are they? I know she always has them with her. And Juvia taking this the wrong way, thinking like, oh, I see. She wants to have a feel for them things. Gray, would you want to take advantage of me and have a feel for them things too? And Gray's like, oh, hell no. Not right now. But that's not what Lucy obviously was going for. We know this. So Lucy pulls off the cards, right? It's like, I found him. The magic cards. So there are two ways you can look at this. You can either look at it from a Yu-Gi-Oh! Reference standpoint, or in this case, Magic the Gathering. Take your pickings, but I thought that was actually kind of funny. It's like magic cards. And she's like, huh? And Gray's like, yeah, it's those cards Colin is always using. So these cards have the power to trap people inside. And Gray's thinking, hey, you're right. Because he thinks back to everything that Kana did with those cards, especially back in Tartarus, which they actually showed those panels here, which I thought was pretty cool. And you get the best screenshot, which is like Lucy winking, holding the cards, thinking, with these little beauties, we can get everyone in one place and keep them safe at the same time. And Green's like, but that's Kana's magic, not yours, right? And Lucy showing off her intelligence, showcasing why she is the modern day fairy tactician. I don't care what anyone says, because that is a fact. We're both holder mages, though. It might not be perfect, but I'm confident I can at least use them. Plus, unlike my star spirits, these cards don't require a contract. And Judy's thinking, so we can turn everyone back to normal. And Lucy continues to say, turning them back is going to be a separate challenge, but at least we can get them where we can work with them. And Gray's like, wow, what a great idea. And then she says, well, no time to lose. Got a card with Kana's name on it. And what ends up happening is Lucy ends up getting trapped on the cards, and she's like, what the heck? Well, why did you do that? And Gray's like, how should I know? Juby says, Lucy got trapped in the card instead. It's a counter. A trap Kana put on the card in case anyone got their hands on it. And Kana wakes up saying, no, it's something so devious. Lucy's right. Those cards are readily available cards that anyone can use. But containing people within them takes a certain knack. And Lucy's like, Kana? Like, so, like, she snaps her fingers. Lucy comes back out from the card. And Kana says, alley-oop, trapping the Thunder Legion. And she's like, see? But Kana, how? Did she break free of the hypnosis? And Gray says, not likely. Even if she escaped the hypnosis, she shouldn't be able to use magic. Like what happened to Juvia. And Kana's like, what's this about hypnosis? Wait, what am I doing in these plain old clothes? And she's thinking like, geez, I'm like, I've got nothing on under these robes. What the hell? And the stare. The stare that Julia gives to Gray. It's like, don't even think about it. And he's like, I'm not thinking about anything. That's hysterical. Not gonna lie. Lucy says, you don't think she was drunk so the hypnosis never affected her, do you? And Gray's like, if she was, then what was the deal with that fairy glitter attack? And Julia's like, was she just too drunk to know what she was doing? And Lucy's just like, yikes. Kana obviously is an airhead on this one and not even understanding what's going on. But Lucy rushing over to hug her Tenro sister. Because they were a team. When it comes to the Tenro Island, Lucy and Kana were like the dream team of that arc. And you obviously, see that connection between them, which I've always liked. I've liked that connection that Kana and Lucy have always had together. Whatever happened, I'm so glad you're back, Kana. And Kana's like, I didn't go anywhere. Hey, can you tell me what's going on? And Gray says, now we just might be able to save everyone. And Juby says, let's go find them. The church on the left hand. So we cut over to the church on the left side. And we cut back over to, Loxus and Kyria. And Kyria's like, enough appetizers. I think it's time for the main course. You lightning dragon. And Loxus is like, I still don't know who or what you are, but I've seen your strength. I know you can't beat me. And Kyria's like, I wouldn't be too sure. And you see what's going on here. She lays off an attack, cutting off like his precious spirit. You can now be nice. Be my obedient pet. And Loxus is unfazed. And Kyria's like, what? Strength. Sorry, but I ain't got any. And she's super lost. Like, what? Whole reason I'm in the guild is because even though I'm so weak, it doesn't seem to bother anyone there. And she's like, impossible. And Loxus uses the roaring thunder attack. It's amazing, beautiful. And Loxus says, with my friends, it's okay to be weak. I don't have to be put on for anyone's level. Kind of tough with Urza, though. And this kind of gets Kyria thinking, like, a man with incomparable strength who sincerely believes he's a weakling. I think I might be in love. And this is what I was referring to earlier when it comes to the Loxus and Kyria pairing. A lot of it mostly stems from Kyria's angle on her feelings. So this is kind of, again, where the spark hits with Loxus ex Kyria, right? So I'll say this, even right now in the manga, like, nothing's like set in stone yet as far as like who Loxus is gonna end up with. But like I said, there is one other gesture. It's not anything like there was one other moment that happened between these two, and it's not huge. Let me just say that it's nothing huge like what you get with Natsu and Lucy. But it's a gesture moment. I'll give it that. It's a nice gesture moment that you see between the two of them. Like I said, I don't think you're gonna get that until either the end of season 2 or probably season 3. One of the two. It really depends on where we end off a 100 Years Quest with season 1. It really depends on that. But now we get to chapter 42, titled "For the Guild I Would," and we're still on the left side of the church. Church on the left shoulder, and it's between Wendy and Neighboru. So you get Wendy doing what she's doing, trying to undo the webbings that's keeping Carla stuck. It's completely stuck, and Wendy's like, or not Wendy, Carla's like, forget about me, go chase that thing down. And she's like, but I can guarantee you he's gone to destroy another one of the orbs. I can't let that happen. And again, Wendy's kind of contemplating about this whole thing, thinking, if you beat him, I'll bet the stuff will come loose. And Wendy's like, okay. but I'll be back. I promise. So she goes off to find neighbor, and she's like, "There you are. You won't get away." And he's like, "Cuckoo?" And Wendy being a badass, okay? Wendy being a total badass here at this moment, I loved it, okay? Absolutely loved this moment that we got here. So she lays up an attack, sends Niboru before he uses his webbings to like hold on to like the side of the buildings, right? I'll let you live because you interesting, but you here. You come here yourself, stupid cuckoo. And Wendy says, "I'm here all right, here to stop you. So you'd better get ready." Stop? No stop, silly coo. And Wendy's super confused, like, huh? Like, and she's thinking, like, is that gum? Because he's like chewing on it. And then she's a bit like lost because then he starts swallowing it. He's like, no, he swallowed it. Gum I eat. Get power. And it sends Wendy back. You see the cocoon starting to shatter actually. And he's like, now I eat you. Cut back over to where we are with Lucy, Kana, Gray, and Juvia. And we see Maka, we see Romeo, and Wakaba. They're like all trapped in this cards now, too. His soul belongs to me. Thinking about like Yu-Gi-Oh! Awaken the Dragons, or like Pegasus with the Millennium Eye. That's what this whole thing's reminding me of. You see, now his soul is trapped within this card. Which obviously is not the soul, it's like the actual person themselves. Love it. Malakal, Wakaba, and Romeo. What is said? And Juvia's thinking, who could have beat them up like this? And Gray's like, judging from the injuries, I'd say Natsu. I was sure. And then you see Lisana's still on the ground. Because that's who Lucy was thinking about. And she's like, Lisana, there she is. I'm added to my collection. I'm telling you, this is like a freaking card game here. It's like, oh, the Lisana card. I'm gonna go after that one. Like, that's what this is. It's a card game. That's what this is turning into. The magic. That's what Grace says. Mir and Elfin must be nearby, and they're saying like, and those Diabolos clans. That's a Kanatagan. Grace says, I don't like any of this. That means facing Mira-chan as an enemy, and that Ash guy too, right? And Juby says, maybe we can just have Khan to turn them all into cards. But Khan goes on to explain, the cards won't work when the target is too hostile. That's why you have to knock them out at the very least. Lucy says, stay calm and think. There has to be a way. Cut back over to the left side of the church, or the church on the left hand. Kira's all knocked out. Loxus is there. It's like this thing is the thing I'm supposed to bust, and he's about to grab his hands on the orb, but Urza shows up and says, "Wait." Loxus turns around, says, "Urza," and she's like, "You're not touching that orb." And what we're getting set up here, because she notices that Kiria's knocked out, and she already gets the idea, okay, Loxus defeated her. I always knew he was strong. He's the one person I couldn't find the weakness in, even under the control of the White Mage. If only Natsu or Gray were here, at least. And then, of course, you see the thunder sparking around Loxus, and he's like, yeah, I am. And you're not stopping me. And Urza's about to transform into like her lightning armor and says, but I've got no choice. I have to stop Loxus. And basically what we're setting up here, we're getting a clash of the titans, okay? The strongest, or at least one of the strongest wizards in Fairy Tail. Loxus versus Urza. And if I remember correctly, and it's been a long time, I don't ever recall us getting a Loxus versus Urza fight. I don't ever recall that. So the fact that we're getting the fact that that's getting set up here is amazing. I love the setup there. The setup there is incredible. But obviously, we don't actually even get to see a clash. We just see them just getting ready. because we cut over to Natsu, who's flying with Happy. He's like, "Why are we going back to the town on his? Why are we going to the town on his back, Natsu?" And that's Happy talking. And Natsu says, "Well, it makes sense, right? There's 5 towns, and the one on his back is right in the middle, right?" And Happy's like, "Yeah, so the strongest guy's always right in the middle." And Happy's like, "Is he? Locus or Mira has gotta be there." And Happy's like, "You're the worst detective, Natsu." And Natsu's like, "Heck, I'd settle for Jalal." Oh my god. And okay, I don't remember actually if this was actually in the episode, like this panel here. This might have gotten cut out. But even so, this part was it's pretty funny because he's like, "Speaking of Jalal," and Jalal's thinking like, "How long does Urza plan to keep me in suspense?" No, I actually do think this part got cut out. I really do. I do think this part did get cut from the episode. Which, if it did, it's very minor, very minute in actuality. If it's there, though, I mean, I'll address that in the next stream. But because I think the way the anime showcased it was that it just showed Natsu going straight into the church, right? I don't think we actually saw that panel in particular. But anyway, Natsu's like, "Oh, I see a beam of light or something. Got to be something important there. One of those orbs, I'll bet. Let's go, Happy." Aye. So they walk into the church. There's someone there, and Natsu notices like this can't be the white mage. What you doing lying around here? Happy, the orb. Where is it? Safe, thankfully. And he's thinking like, what the heck's going on here? Should we beat the stuffing out of her while we have the chance? And that's Happy talking, actually. And Notch is like, "You beat the stuffing out of an unconscious girl?" And Happy's like, "Well, when you put it that way." And this part's funny because Natsu's getting all fired up, and he's like, "Okay, rise and shine, kiddo." And Happy's like super shocked about it. Like, Are you really burning to get started?" And Natsu's like, "She might be asleep, and she might be a girl, but it doesn't matter. She's an enemy of our guild, and I would do anything for the guild." But before Natsu could even get ready to lay an attack, Toka actually wakes up. And she says, Natsu-sama." That throws Natsu off, throws Happy off. She embraces him in a hug, like a very deep, like intrinsic hug. And she just says, "Save me." And that's where the episode ends up. And fun fact here, at the time when I was actually talking about the Fairy Tail Hunters quest manga, this is back when I used to do like live reactions to the chapter, not live discussions. But this was actually where I had stopped reading the manga for a pretty long time, and a lot of it had to do with just me going through a lot of that point in time. So I'm actually glad that now moving forward, I'm able to talk about what we're going to be getting beyond this point. And I won't spoil, obviously, but this moment kind of says a lot, okay? And it leads to something. It leads to something really interesting. Not from a shipping angle, because I know that's what a lot of people are going to be thinking. It's like, "Oh, yo, Lucy's main rival, the one who's going after Natsu. She gave him the warm embrace, asking her to save him. We're going somewhere with," if I remember correctly, I think the ship name is Tatsu. "We're going somewhere with the Tatsu ship. Tatsu, run!" In the great words of Megatron from Transformers 1. "Tatsu, rise up!" If there are any Tatsu shippers out there, I mean, this is a moment for you guys. Let me just say that. This is a genuine moment for y'all. But interesting cliffhanger, say the very least. And this is the actual ending point of the chapter. Both the ending of the chapter and the ending of the episode. So, fascinating. Fascinating end off point, to say the very least. And I will say, outside of the Wraith stuff, because I do think the end result of Wraith was a bit quick. I do agree on that. The raid stuff was kind of fast, for sure. But everything else with the episode I thought was great. Great plus, I didn't even say amazing. This was still an amazing episode. The only thing that kind of brings the episode down just slightly is just the raid stuff. Like, it was still good, but I do think that portion happened too fast, if you know what I mean, you know? I mean, granted, like I said, Wraith was only introduced, like, at the end of episode 10, and you only get him for, like, 2 episodes, right? Like, I think if you had given Wraith maybe an extra episode, this would have worked. But then again, it's one of those ordeals, you know? Like, not every episode is going to be a 10 out of 10, pure perfection. That's not always going to be the case. But this was still, like, a really great episode. For, again, and a lot of it does have to stem from Lucy and her intelligence. It does stem from that, which I do appreciate. I do appreciate that, you know, we do get more stuff with Lucy, seeing her growth as a character, as a celestial wizard. That's also, like, really fun. The bit with Wendy, too, I do want to say, there's a setup there for Wendy. Wendy's going to get something huge. I don't know for sure if it's next week, but I do think it's going to be the following episode after that. Wendy's going to get something huge. And for anyone who's a big fan of Wendy, and I've always liked Wendy as a character, she's going to have an incredible spotlight moment. Okay? Like, if episode 10 was the spotlight moment for Lucy and what she was able to do, yeah, you could even argue that episodes 10 through 12, this episode, was all, like, you know, the stuff we were getting with Lucy and her growth. But we're getting stuff there. We're getting the setup for Loxus versus Urza, which is going to be amazing to see too. A lot of interesting stuff. And of course, now you have Natsu and Toka finally interact with one another. What is that all going to lead to? Again, as a manga reader, I already know where those events go. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but that's what makes for a fun discussion, right? That's really what it means. Also, hey, Brian, how's it going? I don't want to seem like I was ignoring you. I was just going through and talking about my thoughts for the episode. But for anyone curious about my overall rating, I'll give it an amazing. It's an amazing episode of Fairy Tail 100's Quest. The fact that we're 12 episodes in, halfway through the first season, is still crazy to even consider. And as far as a new opening and a new ending song goes, either we're going to get it next week with the next episode, or we're going to get it with episode 40. One of the two is probably where I think we're going to get a new OP and a new 80, which I'm curious to know what we're going to get, because the OP and the ED we've been getting, you know, for like they're both fantastic. I loved both of them. So super curious to know what that's going to be. Can't wait to see how they're going to tackle the other events that we've gotten in the manga, obviously, with the next episode. But let me know what you guys thought. How did you guys feel about the episode? What was your favorite part about the episode? Did you guys have any gripes with the episode? And aside from that, guys, that's pretty much it. Once again, overall rating on Fairy Tail 100's Quest episode 12 is an amazing. I'm LuckyRave. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Fairy Tail content, Hero Mashima content, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Laters.